All right, are we all set to go? All right. At this point, we're going to call to order the regular Housing and Redevelopment Authority meeting for May 21st, 2018. Our first item is approval of the minutes of the HRA meeting from April 16th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, we've approved the minutes. Next, we have approval of the agenda.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? All right, we've approved the agenda. Next, we have the consent calendar. Mr. Devich.
Thank you, Chair Supple and members of the HRA. For those here in the audience and those at home, the consent calendar contains several separate items which are acted upon by the HRA in one motion. And once the consent calendar has been approved, the individual items and their recommended actions will also have been approved and require no further action. We start tonight with item A, which is consideration of the approval of a right of entry agreement with NHH Companies, LLC, for the Cedar Point 2 properties owned by the Housing and Redevelopment Authority. Item B, consideration of the approval of contracts for the sale of buildings located at 6333 16th, 6401 16th, and 6409 16th Avenue to NHH Companies, LLC. And finally, item C, consideration of the adoption of a resolution authorizing the HRA to affirm the monetary limits on statutory municipal tort liability. And that concludes tonight's consent calendar.
Oops, turn on my microphone. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I did want to mention, as I was reading through the packet, I thought it was really cool that they're going to be able to sell the houses and not just tear them down. That's good recycling and reuse of things, so thank you for that. Any other discussion?
I just had one question. Are they all one story or are some of them 1.5?
Yeah, they're all 1.5, which are more difficult to move.
Yeah.
We tried to sell them to house movers in the past, and we were unsuccessful. You know, we'll see. We certainly hope that this works.
Okay.
All right, cool. Well, if there are no further comments, we'll take the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, thank you. We've approved the consent calendar. Okay, moving on to item 4, consideration of the approval of the settlement of a Housing Redevelopment Authority deferred loan at 6701 Stevens Avenue. Mr. Devich.
Again, thank you, Chair Supple, members of the HRA. Again, this is and again, at 6701 Stevens Avenue. Most familiar with this matter is Kate, and I'm going to ask her to take this item.
Thank you, Chair. In 2001 and 2002, Daisy Young, the homeowner, received 2 Richfield deferred loans for her home at 6701 Stevens. The loan in 2001 covered a number of home repairs for the amount of $23,095.68. And then later in 2002, the homeowner requested funds to upgrade the electrical service. Another repayment agreement was signed and filed for the amount of $1,180. In 2006, the homeowner applied for a reverse mortgage through Financial Freedom Senior Funding Company, and the HRA was asked to subordinate to the reverse mortgage. They did so because the current subordination policy did allow that in 2006. In the course of drafting and filing the subordination, only one of the HRA liens became subordinate to the Financial Freedom reverse mortgage. The HRA's second loan from 2002, the smaller one for $1,180, is currently in first position ahead of the reverse mortgage. Last summer in July, the homeowner suffered a stroke and was moved to a nursing home. She requires full-time care and is unable to move home. Her son began the process of selling the home and received multiple offers when the home was listed. The outstanding HRA liens were discovered when title work was done later in the process than we would typically like to see, and they have been preparing for closing. A purchase agreement has been signed. The buyer is hoping to close on May 30th, and that's already been extended once to accommodate this meeting and figuring out this settlement. The short sale request to Financial Freedom comes with very strict limitations, and the firm has been unwilling to compromise with any deductions for the payment of other liens on the property. The homeowners' representatives were told that they needed to address the other liens apart from the short sale settlement or risk the sale falling through and moving to foreclosure. In order to avoid this, the homeowners' representatives are proposing to pay off the first lien and are asking the HRA to forgive the second lien for $23,095.68. The title company is putting forward the funds to cover the first lien in order to protect the security of the short sale settlement with Financial Freedom. No sale proceeds will be collected in the short sale, and neither the homeowner nor her heirs are in a position to repay the HRA. And we have Realtor Lance Watkins here and the homeowner's son, David Young. He's also the power of attorney in this situation.
Do we have any questions?
I had one in general, if I may.
Go ahead.
I'm reading this and I'm gathering that our policy has subsequently changed, that we do not subjugate our loans to reverse mortgages. Is that what I read? Is that
Correct.
what the current policy is? Because if you do, you're going to be out of luck.
Right. It's
Yeah.
very straightforward. It has to be a pretty standard mortgage, no balloon payments,
Yeah.
and no reverse mortgages.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I was wondering the same thing. All right, so, well, should we go ahead then? If there are no further comments?
I will move that we approve the proposal made by the representatives of the homeowner of 6701 Stevens Avenue for the full forgiveness of the $23,095.68 Richfield Rehab Deferred Loan.
Second.
Are there any comments? I would support the motion as well. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we have passed the motion. Yes, thank you for your time.
My one comment would be that the title company blew it, frankly, when they didn't get subordination on our second mortgage. So they ought to pay for it. It comes under their malpractice. So.
Yeah. All right, next we have consideration of the adoption of a resolution authorizing the purchase of real property located at 1430 East 66th Street, pending a finding of consistency by the Richfield Planning Commission. Mr. Devich.
Again, thank you, Chair Supple, members of the HRA. This is kind of exciting to us, the ability to purchase this particular piece of property that we've been looking at for quite a long time, and I'm going to ask John Stark to make the presentation to the HRA.
Thank you, Chair Supple and Commissioners. The property located at 1430 East 66th Street has been vacant since 2015. Prior to that point, the building on the property had operated as the El Jalapeno Market since approximately the year 2000. The property was foreclosed upon in 2015 and subject to sheriff's sale. As there were no potential buyers in the sheriff's sale process, the building ownership reverted to its primary lender, the Richfield Bloomington Credit Union, or RBCU. Since that time, RBCU has been attempting to sell the property. The prior owner had listed the property at $547,000 in 2014. After the foreclosure and the removal of fixtures and grocery-specific mechanicals, the asking price for the property was $280,000, but RBCU reduced the listing price to $220,000 in 2016 based on an appraisal. The credit union has been unable to sell the property, however. As a vacant property, code violations occur regularly, especially dumping on the site. The condition of the building, even while it was open and operational, was poor and it has fallen into a further state of disrepair. While the building is secured, there is potential for persons to enter the building and harm themselves, especially since there is a large hole in the floor that would take you very quickly to the basement. And when I say a large hole, I would say it's probably 38 square feet. So
Wow.
large.
Wow.
Staff has had an ongoing dialogue with representatives of the credit union since February of last year relating to the possible purchase of the property by the HRA, but we were unable to reach an agreement on the proposed purchase price. In April, staff made a final offer contingent on your approval to purchase the property for $191,400, which is 10% greater than the assessed market value of $174,000. Staff viewed this as a reasonable offer given that the assessed values, as determined by Hennepin County, reflect the prior year's value and typically lag the real estate market. If purchased, the building on the property would be demolished within 90 days. Staff would then market the property as a redevelopment site, which could possibly include a shared parking arrangement with the adjoining Frenchman's Pub. You know, on this one, I would say, as a staff, we talk about this all the time, and what our job, how we view our job, is to do the things that the public needs to have done, but that the private market is unable or unwilling to do. Since this property's been on the market for over 3 years in a very hot market, we just don't see a viable private mechanism for this to happen. You know, we have been approached by potential buyers of the site who all wanted to do things on the property that we didn't want to see them do, and we don't think you would have wanted to see them do either. So we are happy that we're at this point, and you know, these. When we purchase a property, we probably hold it a little longer than a private entity would, for a couple of reasons. One is because we're more selective on who we would sell it to. Secondly, we don't have any holding costs, which the private market does have, especially real estate taxes. So we don't have the same sense of urgency. So that's probably the one downside, is it doesn't happen as quickly with us. So with that, I would stand for any questions you might have.
Mr. Devich?
Thank you, Chair Supple. I would just add, to me, this is a really, really great opportunity for the city to get involved in this particular piece of property and to put it into a form where I think somebody can have a vision of what that corner could be, and also add to everything that's happening along our 66th Street, especially on the east side. And so, yeah, it might take us a little bit longer to get it done, but I'm quite confident that in the very end, folks are going to really like what ends up happening there, irrespective of what it might be. I think it's going to be a huge, huge improvement.
Could you explain, it says pending a finding of consistency by the Richfield Planning Commission, what that means?
Yep. State statutes require that anytime a public body purchases a property, that the planning commission of that entity finds that the purchase is not inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. Strangely enough, what the statute says is only that the planning commission has to make a finding of consistency. That wouldn't alter your ability to purchase it. You would just be purchasing it with the knowledge that they find it inconsistent. Having said that, I'm quite certain that the planning commission, when they meet later this month, will find this purchase to be consistent with the comp plan.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Commissioner Sandal?
Having grown up in the neighborhood and walked to that store as a kid to get milk and bread, I am happy to make the following motion. Encourage us to adopt a resolution authorizing the purchase of real property located at 1430 East 66th Street, pending a finding of consistency by the Richfield Planning Commission.
I'll second. I do have one comment. For a long time, but especially recently, we've heard comments about how we really want to see 66th Street, the storefronts there updated and renovated, and to see this new face of Richfield. And to me, this is a proactive approach to see that vision forward. And so it makes a lot of sense, and it has an eye to the future. So.
Yeah. And I would further comment, I think across the street was the dental office and then the development. So it's coming together. I think that's really great. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been hearing comments as well from people of all the things that are happening on the eastern half of 66th Street. So.
And before you vote, I'll give you a teaser. We have some interesting ideas about an interim way to use the property that we're going to be looking at this summer. So hopefully, temporarily, we'll be able to find a good use for it between now and the time it's permanently developed.
But you're going to fix the hole first.
The building is going to go away.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
All right.
What on earth caused that big of a hole?
I'm sorry,
What caused that big of a hole in the floor?
moisture and time.
Wow. Wow.
Wow. All right, at this point, we're going to call the question. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we've passed the motion. Okay, moving on to HRA discussion items. Are there things that we would like to bring up? I have a question. Do you have anything else, Mr. Howard? Ms.
I don't.
Sandel?
And just a comment when you're done.
I'm curious, the legislative session wrapped up yesterday. Was there anything that's going to have a big impact on the HRA or any that we know of?
Not that I know of. I know that Minnesota Housing was asking for money so we have, every community terms it something differently. We have a fund called the Housing and Redevelopment Fund. In some communities, they call it a housing trust fund. It has different names, different places. But the Minnesota Housing organization was seeking $2 million for assistance money for entities that have a housing trust fund to kind of reward them for having taken that step. I don't know if that was approved or not. We'll check into that. Otherwise, I don't know of anything that would have had any effect on us.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Sandal?
Just a question of personal curiosity because I care a lot. What is happening on the tunnel under Cedar Avenue Freeway? What's the timeline?
Commissioner Sandal and members of the HRA, we continue to work on that. We are trying to voluntarily purchase that Motel 6 property. So far, that hasn't happened, and one way or another, there would be other methods for us to acquire that property, and it's our intention to have that property sometime before the end of the year, so that we can proceed as scheduled with the beginning of the work on the underpass in 2019.
Okay. Good luck.
Yes. It's kind of like a lifelong endeavor.
All right, any other comments or discussion items? All right, then we'll move along to the Executive Director's report.
Chair, supplemental members of the HRA, I really don't have anything specific to report other than I think John can attest to this, that we are continuing to enjoy just a great deal of interest in Richfield. There's just a flurry of building permits that we're issuing that's far greater than what we've ever seen in the past. And the interest in folks looking at Richfield continues to be undiminished. And there's just a lot of interest in Richfield. And so it speaks to the fact that I think we've done a lot of right things to put us in this position. And, we always thought, one of these days we're going to be in that position, especially because of our location. But you put everything together, and it's a pretty darn exciting time.
Commercial or residential or both?
Commercial and residential, various types of residential. We're seeing a lot of interest in condominiums and townhomes, which had not been the case for about 14 years in the Twin Cities market, other than places like Uptown.
Great.
Cool. Thank you. That's good news. All right, we'll move on to claims and payroll.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor of approving the claims and payrolls, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Seeing no further business, we stand adjourned. Thank you.